All right, everybody. Hey, this is Pastor Pat. We are doing another interview. We did one with Grandpa Jimmy Allen, known with Logan Allen, Robyn Allen, and we are down at the Allen Ranch in Oklahoma. So Logan and Robyn, I just interviewed your dad, and we was talking about just basically two questions for you guys. It'll be, what does dedicated life mean to you as Christians, and then what does dedicated life mean to you as working in your craft, being dedicated to training horses and roping and that kind of thing, and maybe talk about a little bit about how you guys team up on that. So let's start with being Christians. What does a dedicated Christian look like to you guys in the Allen family?
Man, I think that's a big part of being a Christian and being a cowboy and training horses. I think that's a lot of what goes hand in hand is staying hooked.
Mm-hmm.
I think a walk with Christ isn't always easy. You're going to face persecution, and similar to training horses, it's not always easy, but if you stay hooked and stay dedicated, you're gonna come out ahead.
Mm-hmm. And Afton is getting ready to show up. That's
okay.
Afton,
Hold on. Hey.
Be kind.
All right, that's Afton. So she may have something to say here in a minute too. So, and she's so cute. She's basically there. So we'll just spin off of that. So, and we'll come back to that. But Afton's out there with you all day, every day, Logan, while you're out there training, roping, and doing all that. And Robyn's a nurse. So, Robyn, can you talk a little bit about? Let's talk about being dedicated to being a follower of Christ. You guys are involved in your church down here in Nowata and all that. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, when we moved down here, that is a whole testimony in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's something you want to hear or not.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that because you guys was kind of, and let me say this for everybody in St. Louis. So being down in Ozark or Highlandville, Missouri would be considered pretty much cowboy country. But now you're down here in Nowata where you grew up in your hometown.
Yeah.
And go ahead from there. I just want to set that up.
So we lived in Ozark area from the time we got married. We had no intentions on living here. My heart always wanted to be back home, but I never mentioned it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we come out to visit her family here in Oklahoma, and all the time we'd come out to visit, and we just fell more and more in love with it. And one day we was driving back to Missouri from out here, and I looked over at her. We was driving along in the car, and I said, I think we ought to move out here to Oklahoma, to cowboy country, and I think we'd fit in. Mm-hmm. And let's move out here by your family. And,
so that had to have been a while. I mean, when I heard that you were moving down here, I really thought that was pretty. I don't want to say risky, but that was pretty. That was a heck of a decision to make because you were like entertaining. You already had probably people, clientele.
Yeah.
And you kind of left everything you know and love, and you were working at a bow shop and everything. Can you talk about that? Your spirit probably wasn't settled, was it?
Well, no, and honestly, it become an easy decision when we were driving back to Missouri from here, and when I looked at her and said, I really am liking it more and more out there. I think I could see our family moving out to Oklahoma. She looked at me immediately with tears in her eyes and said, I've been praying to God that if we're supposed to be in Oklahoma, he would have you tell me. And so that's exactly how it laid out. So when you feel like you're being obedient to God's voice, the decision, it felt easy. And it seemed like a no-brainer. And I felt like that was God telling us, hey, pack your bags, we're moving. So we just listened, responded, and I don't want to say it's been easy because it ain't all been easy. We've definitely had some bumps in the road, but every day we're seeing more and more blessings come true. Just knowing God's voice and following His vision for our lives, not just our own.
That's great. Go ahead.
Those bumps in the road, I will have to say, are not God's bumps in the road. Those are us not paying attention to God's timing and listening clearly. And as we've went through those, you kind of start to learn, like, okay, no, God's not saying this yet. He's giving me a cue, but it's not time yet, not time yet. And I really feel like that's where staying persistent in your faith is so important, because you might hear something, but not the full extent of it. You've got to stick with it.
Stick with it. So, and let me bounce off of that a little bit, or add to that. You're leading worship at your church,
Yep.
First Baptist up there in Nowata, and it's awesome. I didn't get to probably go to any services because I think we got to get back to St. Louis. But you're going to have service Wednesday night. You have it on Sunday. Can you talk about being the young guy at church and leading worship, and was it what kind of transition was it? Was it easy?
So that's been awesome too. So when we got down here, I grew up in Ozark, Missouri. She grew up here, so she kind of knew everybody. But I grew up in Ozark, I knew everybody. My family knew everybody. But moving out here, I wanted to get closer to the community and get more involved. And no better way than do that than find you a good church. But we had no idea what God had in store for us once we opened our minds to find the right church. And so we tried a couple and just couldn't feel right. Well, finally we found this one. And the only thing, I had never even thought about leading worship at a church. It never even crossed my mind. But I've always been a singer. And once we moved out here, that's one thing I was missing, was singing. Well, we went and tried this church that they didn't have a worship leader, really. It was and they didn't really even have a pastor when we first went and tried it. But we loved the people there. They were awesome. They were welcoming. And immediately kind of felt attached. Well, as it went on, doors started opening. I think God placed us in that church. I think not only did we move out here because we fell in love with this area, the cowboy country, and to work for our dreams and what God's got in store for us, which is through the horses, but we feel like God placed us out here because that church may have even needed us. They needed a worship leader.
Wow.
And that's kind of filled my void of wanting to sing.
That's huge.
And then now the church, shortly after we started trying it, they got a pastor that's wonderful now too. And we've been there, for a while now. And it's like everything in that church it's been God all the way around. I mean, there's no other way around it. It's been amazing.
It's been amazing. All right, so let's wrap this up, and I want to talk to you about this last thing. So for young people, and I'm trying to inspire the young people like you guys, dedicated life, dedicated to Christ, and things work. Talk about the family unit as you and Robyn and Afton being in your business, and your business is horse training in rope horses and full-time cowboy. What is that like? I'm watching it from the outside, and I have since I've known you, 10 or 12 years, and seeing you grow. You're here now. Can you explain how involved your family is here?
Absolutely. So being self-employed and owning the business of horses, I can't afford an employee, so I had to marry someone that could help me clean stalls, help me train the horses. No. That is that's a huge blessing, and it is a commitment. It's a family commitment. If I was doing it on my own, if she wasn't involved, if Afton didn't like it, it would be really hard. Just because it's a stressful way of life, it can be dangerous at times. You've got to have people in your corner.
So all the people, and I, what, I'm gonna put this on YouTube tonight, so that way I can get it and download and get it on my church. When you say dangerous, I'm this guy. I think life's about calculated risk, and you guys aren't haphazard. You guys know what you're doing. It is dangerous, but can you talk about that? And how has everybody been so conditioned that they think everything's so dangerous that they do nothing? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely, because there is so much truth to that I battle myself.
Okay.
That's a big deal because, everything's a risk. I don't care what you're doing. But when you're working with horses, that's an animal that makes its own decisions. That animal has to trust you. But being a horse trainer, you don't always get an animal that's had a good life. You know what I mean? Some people have maybe, you never know what this animal's past is. So when it comes to you, you have to be willing to accept that animal's past and work forward with that.
Yeah.
And the dangers in that is, there's an old, I think it was maybe it was John Wayne, I could be wrong here, but where he said, Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway.
Doing it anyways.
You know?
Yeah.
And man, if that ain't true. And what you find a lot of times, and I think this is in a lot of walks of life, but especially horses, confidence says a lot. And the energy, especially with the horses, if you walk in there scared to death, shaking in your boots, they're going to know it. And they're going to know, you're scared. But if you go in there in a horse pen, you've got to, and this is a lot like, I feel like I connect this to my walk with God all the time. You've got to build a relationship.
Yeah, and I just seen you working, haltering a colt that hadn't been handled. And I see,
this lady called me the other day and had a horse, an almost 4-year-old, never been handled. It had been turned out in the pasture forever, and it finally got too big for her to deal with. It was going to possibly hurt her because she goes out and she gives it treats and pet on it, but eventually the horse felt like it owned her,
the boss.
And so she couldn't halter it, and then she had never haltered it, broke the leader nut, so she called me. And just in a few hours, we had a halter on it, and the horse was following me around. But if I went in there, and especially when you ride horses that are untrained, fear is a part of it. But there's ways to do that, building that relationship. And again, I go back to your walk with Christ is fear's part of it. But if you have a relationship, you can live with it. You can work with it. You grow closer instead of the fear get greater and greater.
That's awesome.
Once you build that relationship.
Wow.
Like you saw that horse. Now she's at my house. She sent it to me. The horse was following me around by the end of the session. I'm patting her on the head.
Yeah.
She's responding to me because I came to her knowing she was scared, and probably me too, but knowing she was scared, I handled that in such a way that,
it brought her comfort.
I gave her space when I felt like it was time to give her space. But when it was time for me to get close, I had to get her to go, okay.
Wow. It was amazing. And that's just like Joshua, Moses telling Joshua to be courageous.
Yeah.
And
being fearful and being inconsistent will never produce a good outcome, no matter what it is, whether it's with your faith, whether it's with your craft, whether it's with your work. You have to be courageous and you have to be consistent. A one drop of water dripping on a stone will wear it away.
Yeah, eventually.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference being consistent with anything.
Cool. So give these guys a final word to encourage them. Let's say we got all kinds of young people your age watching this video tonight. What do you tell these guys? Just give them, maybe you'll never see them again. You got to know this before I leave. What is it you're going to tell them?
Make Jesus the Lord of your life.
Yes.
Don't just go through the motions. Don't just get baptized. Don't just join the church. Find a good church. Join the church. Get baptized. But make sure Jesus is Lord of your life. Because until I've been a believer and a follower my entire life, grew up in church. But until recently did I realize I wasn't making him the Lord. My business wasn't flourishing with the horses. I've always had it, but it was never just booming, Our so many things in our marriage, our walk together, Jesus, and we joined the church. I'm leading worship. You've got to follow God's word. Make Jesus Lord of your life. That way he's Lord. If he's Lord of your life, he's going to be Lord of your business. He's going to be Lord of your marriage. He's going to be Lord of your household.
Wow.
Make Jesus Lord of your life.
And to pony off of that, really, when you're first getting into this and you're wanting to hear God's voice, it's hard to hear it. I'm not gonna lie about that. But that's where consistency comes in.
Yes.
And listening and waiting.
Yes.
And the closer you get and the more consistent that talk with God gets, it's easier to hear. The direction becomes so much more clear. It's just amazing.
Praise God. Well, that's a strong word, and there's some great advice. And Logan's easy to get a hold of if anybody has any questions, or Robyn. They're great young people. They do great things. I love being around them. It's been very relaxing for me and Pastor Aaron last couple of days. So we're going to go back refreshed with a little more vision about being dedicated by watching these two do what they do. So this is Pastor Pat with the Allen family, Logan, Robyn, and little Afton, and down in Oklahoma, reminding you two things. Jesus loves you and I love you. You guys have a great day in the Lord. Thank you, Allen family. God bless.